which is pretty cool. And we've invited Frank here today to just tell us about who he is and his story and kind of, what he's working on now. So I don't want to butcher another introduction, so welcome, Frank.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to sit through this. I had a torn PCL, a ligament in the back of my knee, so I'm not being a lazy speaker. I'm just going to sit for this one. And I'm going to start off with, I want you to try and lighten up a little bit. I know this is about racism, so it's a heavy subject, but through my life, and yes, I was a racist, so through my life, I've noticed that the more lighter I am on the subject, the more it's easier to talk about, okay? So I will make some jokes. You might not find them funny. I fucking find them hilarious. So I will say them if I want. So with that being said, I will definitely curse a little bit. I will talk about a God of my understanding, my own higher power that I've come to believe is in my life. And to be honest with you, you have speakers that come to colleges and come to your high schools when you're in high school that come and talk about how much they care about you and how much they want you to do good in school and they don't want you to drink too much and they don't want you to do this and that. I'm not that speaker. I don't really give a rat's ass about any of you. I don't know any of you to care about you. If I knew your name and maybe, me and Byron are kind of cool. I care about him enough that, but really, that's the truth. I'm not that guy. So, oh wait, I got gum in my mouth. All right. So, all right, I was born and raised in South Philadelphia in a real rough Irish Catholic neighborhood down in the southern end of South Philadelphia. If any of you guys ever watch a sporting event and it says live coming from South Philadelphia, because that's where all the sports teams play, that is like right outside my neighborhood. That's like 6 blocks from my house. So I grew up in the little Irish section, but my real last name is Frank Bertolini. I was born an Italian and with an Italian father, but my mother left him when I was a little kid and she moved back to the Irish neighborhood, and the Irish and the Italians and all the ethnic groups in South Philly don't get along, especially when you're under the age of 18. You fight with them kids, you play sports against them kids. So my mom, after she moved me back to the Irish neighborhood, had a good idea, and people suggested it to her, including, I think, even our Catholic church said, it'd be a good idea if you change his last name. So he grew up in an Irish neighborhood with an Italian last name. So that's how I got Meeink. Meeink isn't Irish, but it's not Italian, so that was safe. My mom had some boyfriends off and on in my life, and I'll get through this as quick as possible. Eventually my mom meets a guy who steps in and wants to become the father figure in my life. He's not qualified, to what I would think, but I wanted him around. I didn't mind having a father figure. I had really never seen my real dad, and eventually it starts off with mental abuse, I would say, where I was grounded. I wasn't allowed to talk in the house. I would be sent to my room for months on end. When I come home from school, I go right up to my room. I'm allowed to come downstairs to eat dinner, but I ain't allowed to talk at the dinner table because dumbasses shouldn't talk at the dinner table. So I'd sit there and be quiet, and then the beatings start happening a little bit more frequently, and he had broken his hand on my head. He'd hit me with things. He used to beat me like another guy would beat another guy on a bar fight. That's how this guy physically was with me. So eventually I get suspended from school a lot. I come home from a suspension. He beats the living balls off me, knocks me out cold almost, and tells me I better pack my stuff and move with my dad. My dad lives in, and I'm sure you all might have heard of this place, West Philadelphia. West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground where I spent most of my days chilling out, maxing, relaxing. That's Fresh Prince's neck of the woods, and it's mostly all black. My dad lived in a little white section up in southwest Philly. So he puts me in the local public school there, which was called Pepper Middle School. My dad had a little bar. It was like a ghetto bar where you could smoke crack. You could do anything you wanted. It was a rough bar, but the school I had to go to was like on 87th Street, and we were on 70th. So the white kids would take trolleys to school, and the school was 95% black. And it was a change from the school in my mom's neighborhood, which was a real mix of black and white and Latino and some Asian, and it was just a mix. So this wasn't much of a mix, and just going there was pretty rough. And a lot of the white kids, when we get off the trolleys together, about the you know, the females were fine. The females could just walk to school. That no one really messed with them much. But the white males, we'd stand there, and you can either walk all the way around the housing projects to get to school, or you can just run right through them. So one kid every day would say, "On your mark, get set, go," and as fast as we could, we'd all just run through the projects and get to school. Once you got to school, it wasn't much better. It was just horrible. And one day I seen a white kid getting jumped in the bathroom, and that white kid wanted me to help him, and I knew one of the black kids. I physically fought him once, and we also played on the same softball team, and kind of had a little bit of mutual respect. So when he seen me come in the bathroom when they were jumping this kid, one of the other black kids wanted to jump me, and Steve waved him off. The bigger black kid said, "Nah, Frank's cool." I was like a little skater at the time, so I was kind of hardcore, and they all used to kind of just think of me as like devil kid, you know. They kind of left me alone more or less, unless I was getting jumped. But so I stopped going to that school altogether, and I cut all the month of April, all the month of May, and into June, and they still graduated. And I had like 40 absent my last semester of school, but I was 13. It was time to move on to high school, or I was going on 14, so they just graduated me anyway, because it goes by your age, not your grades, in the city of Philly. So that summer I went up with a cousin who was a punk rocker like I was, or a skater like I was. And when I went up there to go hang with him, and now he lived up in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, which is good. Now I'm talking to people in Pennsylvania that you understand what I mean by that. When I talk to other places, they have no idea what I mean. So I have to explain that it's Amish, and there's horse and buggies, and cows, and pigs, and shit. And I've never really been around that stuff, and growing up in Philly, you know. So I thought it was really cool, and the Amish people were always nice, and they all waved to you from the horse and buggies all the time. And my cousin wasn't a skater anymore when I went up there. He was already involved in this skinhead thing. He had wallpaper to his wall in his room, newspaper articles about skinheads, and pictures of Adolf Hitler, Rudolf Hess, you know, your Confederate flags hanging in his room. I knew, you know, I wasn't a dummy, and I kind of knew that stuff. Just I was kind of always interested in the war. I knew my grandfather fought in the big one, and so I knew, you know, what that stuff was. I didn't know to the extent. And one night all these skinheads will come over, or every couple of nights they come over, and they'd all be drinking, and we start talking, and I was the kid from Philly, so they'd always talk to me about what's it like growing up in Philly, because they've never, you know, it's like the mystical city to them, and they knew it was majority black city, and what's it like being a white kid there, and they used to ask me about school, and as we're all drinking, and they give me beers, you know, I'm like the little brother, you know, and they give me beers, and I start talking to them, and I'm telling you now, when I look back on it now, and probably at the time when I felt, and I'm pretty sure of it, see, neither my mom or my dad never said to me when I got home, "How was school today? How, you know, what you learned at school, or how was school?" It felt like to me that that's what they were asking me. How's life? So I really enjoyed hanging out with them. And we went to a concert one night, and I still had my long hair, so my cousin said to the rest of the skinheads, you know, "My cousin's got hair, please be careful with him. I'm going to make him stand away from the pit where all the fights are going to be." And this bigger skinhead said, "No, I got him." He put me on his shoulders. And we went into the club, and a big fight broke out, and this big skinhead guy's grabbing people. And this is '89, so they're still like Metallica and Motley Crue headbangers, you know, so he's grabbing these long-haired dudes, and he's like, "Kick him in the face, Frank, kick him in the face." So I kick him in the face, and finally we get kicked out. And all through the night, all the skinheads are getting in these fights, and they keep getting kicked out of the club. And I don't know a lot of these skinheads. I'm just meeting them for the first time now, because we're at this club. Well, so we're all standing outside, and we're waiting for the rest of the skinheads to get kicked out. And the one skinhead says, "All right, well, should we go now?" Because our crew had already all been kicked out. And the one guy looks at him and says, "No, nobody's leaving. We're waiting for all of us to get kicked out. And then we're going to see if anyone we beat up in here has anything to say." So now we're all at the end of the night, everyone's been kicked out of the club, and all the skinheads are standing against the wall together, and they all look the same Doc Martens, same color laces, same color braces with suspenders, and as everyone's coming out, they're like, "Hey, you know, you got something to say to us now?" And these long-haired punk rock kids are like, "Dude, I never had nothing to say to you in the beginning. You just started kicking the shit out of me. And I remember that feeling inside of me that was like, this is fucking cool. For once, I'm on the other end of the ass whoopings, and this feels really